Hey, hello everyone. This is the finishing part of the season of summer drawing with Warminster Library. And so we pretty much got to a point where we were almost finished at the shading part. And you asked if I could do a finishing part of sort of each section on how it would be shaded. So that's what this video is for. So I'm going to come over here and this space over here, I kind of made a little bit of a sort of another flower here in this space. So I made these lines almost like a kind of like a carnation like, but I didn't put a whole lot of detail in it. Just some lines. And then here in the center of the shape, you can see that it's a little darker. You can do whatever you want with this section, as well as some of the other sections. But I want to go back and just show you how I shaded some of these. So here is another area that I'm going to shade. And here again, you can see that sort of outlining it. And then I lightly go in with some strokes. Still adding some texture to each of the petals here. I'm also going back and just making it a bit darker in the center, but closer to the edge. And adding more texture. So this part on a sunflower is usually brown. And you're welcome to go back in with using some different colored pencils. If you think brown will add something to it, absolutely. And adding the center line. So it's basically, to each petal adding a center line, and then usually some light shading that's a little darker, usually at the top of the petal here. Well, this petal in particular is flipped over a little bit, so we see the underside. Could kind of do both of these at once. Here I'm going in and just adding, some more some darker finishing touches on some of the areas that I did before. And again, see how I go in and I make my shading a bit darker right around each element here. When it comes to the background, I know I'm kind of skipping around a bit. Here's the rose, some more gentle shading. Again, as I mentioned, usually towards the bottom, it's a little darker. This is kind of going around, so you want that to look, more realistic. And as we're getting closer to the center of the rose, shading gets a little darker. Again, we're shading on the petals and closer to, when it's overlapping, gets a little darker. And here's our leaf. Put some very gentle lines coming from the center. And some shading, of course. Working our way down. And as you see, it's starting to look more finished. All right, come over here, do some outlining, little shading. I'm going to make some of the background a little darker. Add in some of the line work here and then shading on top. It just needs a little bit of light shading. Gets lighter as we go outward, a little darker right in the space, excuse me, space that's kind of curving. Here I am, kind of re-outlining, in shading around the final sections. And then I like to sometimes, make some areas just a little bit darker in shading. Okay, so now we're going to go to the center of this, do a little bit of shading, and then we're going to add some texture dots. We're going to add center lines to each of the petals. And then again, doing some kind of lightish shading. Excuse me. My allergies are a little bit crazy right now. Add a little bit darker shading around here. And then we have our rose. And again, darker shading on the insides. And then just some line work, light line work. For the rest of the shading. Just really need a few lines. And there we go. And you can add, as I mentioned, some darker areas in the background. And there we go. Feel free to add, we did add yellow to this in one of our old classes. Um, this class was created, I think, in 2024. I think that's what Debbie said. Debbie said she remembers her old one from 2024. So at that time we added some yellow. We didn't for this one, but feel free to do that. You could add some brown if you want. Yeah. All right. So I can't wait to see your finished project if you decide to send it in. Thanks so much for watching.